Hello everyone. Welcome to the new session of Soil Management Part 4. So in this session, we are going to cover optimum condition required for the growing flower crops. Okay. And what are the tools and equipment that are used for the field preparation? That also going to cover up in this particular session. Preparation of fields and special practices in flower cultivation. So all these things we are going to cover up in this session. So the ornamental flower crops such as celosia, amaranth, kochia, galratia, gomphrena, zinnia, torch lily and cosmos that etc. grow at or above 40 degrees centigrade. So they require the temperature above 40 degree centigrade. And most of the commercial ornamental crops such as rose, carnation, gerbera, gypsophila, setice, marigold, chrysanthemum, helocina, bird of paradise, amaryllis, hepastrum, etc. grow comfortably at 15 to 30 degrees centigrade temperature. So these are some of the variation in the flower that require different temperature for their growth. So ornamental flower means the flower that are grown for its beauty, right? So there are two different group of flowers. That one require temperature at or above 40 degrees centigrade and the one that require between 15 to 30 degrees centigrade temperature. So usually for flower crop cultivation, sandy loam soil containing adequate humus with a pH range that is around 5.5 to 7.5 is preferred, as most of the crops remain comfortable in such a soil. So they require sandy loamy soil. Okay, so this is the type of soil that required by the flowering plant. And the pH range, pH is around 5.5 to 7.5. So it is slightly acidic to slightly basic. Okay. So such soil are easily workable, more beneficial for the soil microbial activities. So at this particular pH, the microbes are quite active and they are present in the soil, right? And they are very beneficial for the flowering plants, as they provide adequate porosity in the soil, water retention capacity is high, and the provision for easy access for the drainage. So they are having lots of pores. That means they are having the porosity that provide water retention capacity to the soil and also easy access to the drainage. So the tools and the equipment that are used in the field preparation. So if we want a flower in our garden or any place, then we require some of the tools to manage the field. So what are those tools? Harrow, cultivator, plank, spade, khurpi are required for the field preparation. So these are some of the equipment that are required for the field preparation. The equipment may be used either manually or with the help of a tractor, or may be animal driven. So sometimes they require tractor if they are having a big field, and also sometimes it is animal driven, right? If a field is quite small, then it can be done or handled manually even. Preparation of field. Now, how to prepare the field? For the cultivation of flowers, the field must be first made free of weed. There should not be any weeds, right? Because the weeds compete for the nutrient that are available in the soil. Roots and stubs of the previous season crops should be removed. There should not be any roots or the stubs of the previous season crop present in the soil. So that should be properly removed out. Before the second plowing of the field, light irrigation must be carried out in order to provide optimum moisture for the germination of the weed seeds. Okay. So we must provide some light irrigation, so that if you are putting some seeds of the flowering plant, so that must germinate out. So light irrigation is very, very important. The third plowing may be done at the optimum stage of moisture by hand with a traditional hoe in a small area, or by a tractor or animal driven cultivator plow, etc. The depth of the plowing must be kept at 20 to 25 centimeter, as the superficial plowing will not favor plant development, whereas the plowing too deep will bury the nutrients beyond the reach of the roots of the crop plant. So very, very important for if you are going for the deep plowing. Okay, if you plow the very deep, okay, so what will happen? It must keep at around 20 to 25 centimeter as a superficial plowing. Okay, and that will not favor the plant development, whereas the plowing too deep will bury the nutrients deep into the soil, and that will not be reachable for the roots of the flowering plant. So you should keep this in mind. Care must be taken that plowing is done few weeks before the sowing of seeds, to allow enough time for the weeds and crop residues to decompose. So if there are some weeds or any crop residues are present in the soil, then it must be decayed. So you must give some time to decay those dead weeds and the crop residue. So the care must be taken that plowing must be done few weeks before the sowing of your flowering seeds. After every plowing, the planking is carried out, and then finally the leveling of the field is done. So once the plowing is done, the planking is carried out, and finally the leveling of the field is again done. So leveling is usually done two phases. The first leveling is done to the lower the higher parts of the field, from where the soil is spread out over the lower area. So there are some upper and lower areas in the field, so that should be kept at one particular level. The second or more the precise leveling is carried out after the plowing for sowing. So once the sowing is done, then also the leveling should be done. So that is called as second leveling. The main objective of the land preparation is to create a favorable environment for growing flowering ornaments. So what are the main objective of this land preparation? So that we could create a favorable environment, right? Favorable environment for the growing flowering ornamental plant. So land preparation help in that ways. Irrigating the field and keep it well drained. So we must irrigate the field so that it is well drained with the water. Improving the soil structure, better aeration, permeability and loosening of the root zone to make easy germination of seed and penetration of the root. So if water is properly available in the soil, then what will happen? It will be better aeration, permeability will be better, loosening of the root zone there, so that lots of air could reach to the root zone, and it makes easy germination of seed and penetration of the roots after germination. Maximum and best utilization of nutrients supplied through the fertilizer. So whatever the nutrients that are present in the soil or in the form of fertilizer, that should be utilized properly by the plants. Minimizing the growth of weeds. Weeds compete with the flowering plants or any other crop plant. So that should be removed out. So that is why the field preparation is important, so that we could minimize the growth of the weeds. So there are some other practices also. Harrowing. It is an operation which is carried out for the breaking up and smoothing of the land surface in order to provide tilth of the soil structure, which is suitable for sowing of seeds. So tilth of the soil structure is sometimes very hard, right? So that is breaked up and make it smooth. A harrow can be used to remove the weeds from the field and cover the seeds after the sowing. So we used a harrow that can be used to remove the weeds from the field and cover the seeds after sowing. So that also used to cover up the seed with the soil after sowing the seeds. Purpose of harrowing: to make the soil of the seedbed friable in nature, to remove grasses and weeds from the field by pulling. So this also removes out weeds and grasses that compete with the flowering plants. To cut and mix weeds and the crop residue into the soil. So it cut and mix it, the weeds or the crop residue that are present inside the soil, and make the field surface leveled by breaking the clods. So some of the clods of the soil are present, so that also break up and make the surface leveled. To break the capillaries to retain the moisture present in the soil. So it also breaks up the capillaries and retain the moisture that is present in the soil. Special practices in flower cultivation. Next is weeding. Weeding. It refers to the removal of all unwanted plants from the field other than those planted or sown. Right? So it means unwanted plants. Removal of the unwanted plant from the cropland, that is called as weeding. So the periodic removal of weeds is beneficial for the growth and development of the crop, as it prevents the competition of weed with the main crop for the sunlight, water, air and nutrients. So it is done not only single time, but it is done many times. Okay. So this can be done as these weed plants compete with the crop for the sunlight, water, air and nutrients that is available in the soil. Weeding is necessary as weeds harbor many insects, pests and diseases. So this weeding is also necessary. They are not only competing for the sunlight, water, air and nutrients. Okay. Sometimes weeds are exposed to some insect pests, and these insect pests may also harm to our flowering plants. Right? So the primary weeding is done to clear the huge amount of plants other than the main crop. In our country, weeding is generally carried out manually. So manually it has been removed. Otherwise, some weedy sites are also there, but we should avoid that. Doing it manually is okay. Mechanical weeding may be conventionally be carried out in the crops that have been sown or planted as per the specification and in rows. So sometimes mechanical weeding can also be opted. Okay. So in that case where the flowering plant or any type of plant that are grown in rows. So the chemical weed can be carried out anywhere in any crop. So we are also having one more option of using the chemical weedicides. However, it have a side effects on the environment. I've told earlier that the weedicide should be avoided because it has a side effects or ill effects on the environment. Therefore, the mechanical weeding is always preferred, and mulching at the initial stage also minimize the weed population. Next is the mulching. Mulching is a protective layer of the material spread on the top of the soil. So when the soil is exposed, we can protect the layer of the soil by spreading some material on the top of the soil. So what are those material? It consists of organic waste like straw, hay, dry grasses or leaves, sawdust, crop residue, etc. Okay, so that can be sprayed over the surface of the soil when it is exposed, so that do not allow the weeds to grow, right? Or the synthetic material like plastic sheets. So sometimes plastic sheets are also used for mulching. Staking. Staking is a practice to support plants to grow straight and save them from bending or lodging. So we follow the staking, okay, to provide some support to the growing plants and avoid of its bending or lodging. Therefore, this operation is done at a time when the plants are not too tall. So we opt for this at the time when the plants are not too tall. It saves the plant from getting blown over due to the wind, rain and weight of its flower fruits when bloom or fruiting. So we can Go for staking when the plant is not too big, okay, not too tall, and it is not having flowers or fruits time. So why it is done? Because it saved the plant from getting blown away due to the wind, rain, right? And also sometimes the flower become very heavy due to it's the weight of flowers and fruits. So that also time it provides some support to them. Bamboo stakes are the most common thing used for the purpose. However, branches of shrubs of trees such as neem, sabul, falsa, eucalyptus, etc. can be used for this staking purpose. Now, what are the advantages of this staking? More plants can be grown as staking helps save space. So it helps in providing space, and it saves space also. It keeps the stem plant off the ground. It keeps the plant erect so that it get proper sunlight and proper aeration. It is easier to harvest as a staking facilities working among the plants. So it also help in harvesting fruits and flowers. Earthing up. Digging and pulling the soil in between the rows and heaping it around the stem of the plants called earthing up. So sometimes what happens when the plant is grown properly, right? So what we do, surrounding land of this part is done earthing up. Okay, with the help of kurpi, we pull out the soil between rows and heaping it around the stem of the plant. So in case of bulbous ornamental, this encourages the development of additional underground food storage structures such as bulbs, corms, rhizomes, or tuber, as in the case of tuberose, gladiosus, canna, begonia, and dahlia. So these are the tuberous plant or the bulb bearing plants. So when you earthing up practice you follow, so it provide proper growth and the food storage structures such as bulbs, corms, rhizomes to be in a proper way, and it helps to store nutrients in that. So that ultimately helps to grow the new plants also. So this can be done in the tuberous plants of tuberose, gladiolus, canna, begonia, and dahlia. De-shooting. De-shooting is the removal of side shoots, offsets, or caches. So emerging from the base of the plant. So sometimes shoots can be cut off from the base of the plants. So the main purpose of de-shooting is to divert the energy of the plants toward the development of shoots and buds, so that the plants do not give extra branches, okay, and the branches that are present at the below, that is at the surface of the soil, that are not going to be grow properly, as these branches do not get proper nutrient as the sunlight do not reach to that level, right? So if the base of those emerging shoots of the base plant are cut, then what will happen? All that energy will be utilized for development of the shoots and buds. So disbudding is the removal of flower buds when a large flower is desired on a plant like chrysanthemum and dahlia. Hence, the energy saved by disbudding is diverted towards the development of the retained bud so that the flower become large and vigorous. So we want only 1 or 2 flowers, and that should be quite big, as we have seen in the chrysanthemum and dahlia plant, right? So the extra buds or the floral buds are removed so that only the desired buds bloom in a proper way, right? Generally, it is followed in a large flowering variety. So this type of practice is done in a flowering plant that is having large flower. The ideal time for disbudding is when the buds surrounding the central one have developed 5 centimeter long pedicels. Disbudding start in October or as soon as the flower buds appear, right? So as the flower bud start appear, so you can do disbudding. So in carnations, disbudding is practiced to obtain long stalk with larger blooms. So this is one of the flower. This budding is practiced to have a long stalk flower with larger blooms. Pinching. It refers to the removal of growing tips of the terminal portion of the plant in order to promote bushy growth for more number of flowers, as in the case of chrysanthemum. So what happens if the bud is present at the apex, right? Like this. So this particular pinch can be, it is if we remove this particular tip of the terminal portion of the plant, then it is called as pinching. So what will happen? It will promote giving branches from the sideways, and it becomes bushy in appearance. So it is removal of 3 to 5 centimeter growing tip when the plant are 8 to 10 centimeter tall. That is when they are about 1 month old. The second pinching is done about 3 weeks after the first pinching. So we can have number of pinching to give the plant a bushy appearance. Training. It is the shaping of the plants conforming to the particular form commensurate to the plant's requirement at an early stage. This gives the plant desired height, shape, and strong framework with the desired number of branches, and eliminates weak crotch development. So this is done to the plants for the getting desired height of the plants, proper shape, right, and strong framework, desired number of branch. So this training is done. Pruning is the process of removal unproductive and desired or the dead branches and root to improve plant health condition of flower, fruit, and foliage. So this we have already covered. Now objective of pruning: to reduce the apical dominance of the plant so that the lateral branches encourages for the quality blooms. Okay, so from the sideways lots of lateral branches emerges, and this is also done to reduce the apical dominance. So apical buds are removed out. To balance between shoots and root growth, it also balances the root and shoot growths. To give a definite direction to the shape of the plant. So in this way, you can maintain the proper shape of the plants and lots of new branch can originate. So it can give a bushy appearance to the plant. To utilize the available space efficiently. To impart dwarfing in the plant and promote its healthy growth. So if we want a plant in a dwarf way, short plant, then also we can go for pruning, and it also promote healthy growth. To improve the productivity and the quality of the produce, that also pruning is done. To impart definite objectives such as development of dense top growth in the shady tree or keep the neat and impenetrable hedge. So for these reasons also the pruning is opted. It also provides necessary light and air to the inner portion of the plant. So generally the inner portion of the plant do not get proper sunlight and air. So when the pruning is done, now the branch emerges out and they get proper light and air. To remove the dead, disease and intercalating twigs and branches. So sometimes the apical part of the flower is having some dead or diseased, right? So in that case also pruning can be done. Time of pruning. The plant bearing flowers on the last season growth is generally pruned immediately after flowering. The plant which produces flower on the current season grow must be pruned sufficiently in advance ahead of the flowering season. So after the flowering, once the flower has been done, that is the last season's growth, at that time pruning can be done. The methods of pruning vary with the plant specimen, as the ornamental trees hardly need any pruning. Okay, hence only shrubs are subjected to pruning in the following ways. So let us see. Clipping, the shearing of the hedge. Regular pruning is carried out in the hedge plant. Hedge means the bushy plant, in order to maintain their shape, come beauty, symmetry and healthy, and encourage branching from the base so that they become impenetrable to cats and dogs. So sometimes we make the regular hedge, okay, regular hedge, so that any animal like cats and dog do not penetrate inside. Okay, so they are used as a fencing sometime. So this clipping or shearing of hedge is done. Square cut, round top, wavy top, columns, etc. are given through the training and pruning. So proper shape can also be given to the hedge plant. Clipping or shearing of hedge. During early age, shrubs are headed back frequently to induce branching from the ground level till the required height is attained. So proper this branching, to promote the branching in the shrubs of the some of the plants, this pruning is done. Okay, so at the early age, shrubs are headed back frequently, number of times, so that introduce branching from the lower level. And thereafter, these sheared frequently during the rainy season. Topiary, the art of clipping and shearing climbers, shrubs, small trees, and herbaceous perennials into artistic shape is known as topiary. So sometimes we give a climbers to a proper shape, shrubs to a proper shape. Sometimes it is given the shape of animals even, right? Small trees, herbaceous perennials. So this artistic shape giving to the some of the plants, that is known as topiary. Plants with small dark green foliage amenable to frequent clipping and shearing are selected for the topiary making. It takes years to train a plant to reach a desired shape and size. So it is not done in a week. Sometimes it takes a year to give plant a proper shape. Simple shapes like globe, sphere, dome, table, cubes to the different objects like birds, animals or human can be made with only patience. So it requires lot of efforts and also time. So if you want to give a particular shape, then you must have patience. The shape of the difficult objects are obtained by training plants with the help of wire frames. So sometimes you take some wire and wound out around the branches to give them a proper shape. The hanging garden at the Kamala Nehru Park in the Mumbai is a famous of its topiary work. So this is very famous. Okay, so shrubs such as Clerodendron anermi, that is Indian private, Duranta plumeri, Bougainvillea, Moraya, Paniculata, Thuja, Cupressus semipervirens, Putrengiva roxburghi, Veronica elegnifolia, and Polyalthia longifolia are usually used for making topiary. So these are some of the plants that are used for making topiary. Okay, so this is end of this session. Thank you very much.